Hey,
Happy
Everybody,
Friday.
DJF.
Wow, what a fun fucking week this has been. Oh, um, like I said, we'll just jump right into it. This is the Midnight Express crossover show, the weekly wrap up with Nikatina from
what's
Nikatina
up, you guys?
Hey,
in this
how's it going, Andre?
giant
Going
background.
pretty good, dude. I had to work all day. Now I'm off, and it feels great to be home. My voice was a little scratchy for most of the week, but today is probably the best it's been all week. So I'm excited about that. William looks tired. That's great.
It's been a long week, and I'm dealing with a whole bunch of crazy shit with my landlords. Thank you, landlords.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
who doesn't love that?
That's what they're good for, right? That's what they're good for.
Oh, apparently not. And then, like I said, it's allergy season, and next week, the theft begins again.
Yeah.
Next week, there's a planned robbery that will take place, and there's nothing you can do about it.
A planned robbery. What is
Planned
this?
robbery. This is daylight savings. This is theft.
Oh,
So for 6 months, beginning next week, I'm going to be chasing somebody like I would. They stole my computer or my TV.
well,
And
I thought they were supposed to like do away with that. I remember hearing things about like, oh, they're not going to do fallback and spring forward anymore, and that's over with. But it's happening all over again, so I don't get it.
These clowns can't even fund governments, so I doubt that that's ever going to happen. But here's the thing,
right.
though. Unlike last year, where the theft just hit me really hard, I'm ready to get to a different part of the year because from September till now, it's rained too much. I mean, I'm not talking about rain just ruining your outlook of the day. I'm talking about rain fucking up my property, doing damage to both my home and my business. More rain than I've been here since '93. This is not okay.
It's the end of the world, man. End of the world.
In the city, if you've ever been to Vegas, one thing we're not built for is water, unless it's in a dam. So next week's theft is not going to be. I'm not going to put up as much of a fight when the burglar comes to steal time from me this way because I know, and usually I suffer through the heat. I'm like, oh, geez, it's 110 degrees every single day.
110 degrees, Jesus.
But you know what?
It's really hot out there, man. Every time I've been to Vegas, it's been scolding hot. No, I mean, obviously it's been the summertime, but it does cool down there in the wintertime. Is that right?
It gets and apparently this year it decided to become Portlandia. So, but here's the thing: I'm ready for the heat because you know what the heat is? It's dry. It's dry.
Dry. That's
the
right.
Heat doesn't do damage to me. It does damage to my power bill, which I will gladly pay, not to have to set up buckets here, there, and guess. Maybe I'll get lucky today and figure out if I've guessed right where it's going to drip today on my 70% paper industry.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have listened. I'm originally was born in southern Georgia, so it's like I am more than accustomed to deal with humidity. So it's like I like when it comes to humid heat, it's like I want to pull up the part out of GoldenEye where who was it the geek with the glasses and the computer guy jumps out. I am invincible. Yeah. Alan Cumming. There's because I knew his Nightcrawler.
Oh, you even know his name. It's good knowledge, man. It's good knowledge.
Well, because I remembered he was Nightcrawler in X-Men too.
Oh, that's right. That's the same guy. And it never dawned on me. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to connect him to the raid. We were only 5 minutes into the show.
Only 5 minutes in. I know, right? So, look, the big thing I want to talk about, and I think you know where I'm going to go with this is.
I think the thumbnail kind of gives.
The thumbnail kind of says it. The new Superman logo. I mean, look, it is a combination of like all three logos. The Kingdom Come Alex Ross, the Fleischer logo, and then your traditional logo. I think that the thing I like about it is that it's got a lot of right angles and it's supposed to be from another planet. So, and plus, look, if he would have done the traditional S, I don't know. I just like that he did something different, and he can always change it in the sequels or in other movies as well. It could evolve, but I think he's gonna roll with this for a while. But I actually like it.
I don't hate it. Like I said over and over again, that S is not just a visual adaptation of the Superman logo. That S is a part of a story. and it belongs to me personally. This is a personal preference. It belongs in that story because when you read Kingdom Come, there's a reason why the S looks like that. There's a reason why the S is colored that way too. In Kingdom Come, it's black background because he's coming back to a role that he never thought he would ever come back to for a reason he dreads. So it is that logo is as much part of the Kingdom Come story as Alex Ross's artwork and Mark Waid's writing. I don't hate it being used here. It's just that I was more of a traditional one because I'm not for doing something different in that regard because there are certain things you can do to make your Superman different, but there are certain things that are just going to be Superman. And a recognizable S is what it is. And, but like I said, it's not a deal breaker for me. Even the trunks, because I know the trunks are coming. I'm not a big fan of the trunks, and we're not in 1938. But if he brings those back, it's not going to be. Those aren't going to be the things that affect the movie for me. It's when we get to this movie, if we haven't talked to death, do I care about these characters that he's put out? James Gunn has done a good job of putting that down. And like I said, and the other part of it is there, I'm a universe guy. I'm not a one-off guy. I'm not a one movie at a time guy. You sell me a universe, that's what I want, and you better fucking follow through. If you don't, that'll be the second time in the last 15 years that hasn't happened. So as a universe guy, and like I said, I know people don't want to hear this and they think it's repetitive, but too fucking bad because it's bigger than anything it's the biggest thing that could threaten this universe is new sheriffs. And anybody who thinks that it cannot happen and it doesn't want to hear that, we are here. We are literally here because of a new sheriff. So that's my biggest worry. Not like I said, not for a film junkie. I'm not rooting for that. I would love to dive in and know that Wonder Woman, the Paradise Lost is coming. I would love a true, how I feel about True Detective. If you promise me a True Detective style, I'm in. But I have zero faith in that any of those things are going to happen until they actually happen because of the resume that this company showed me. So, cautiously optimistic. We're off to good starts. The castings are solid. Most of the people I've never heard of, but in the ones I have heard of, pretty solid.
Well, the one today that they announced, the Perry White casting, I thought that was a great casting. I think the actor is really good. I really liked him in Jack Ryan. I thought he did a really good job in that, and pretty much everything he's been in, he makes it better. So the guy he picked for to play Perry White, I thought that was a really, really good casting.
Well, do you guys think that also, because of course this is the second Black Perry White we've had cinematically, so do you think that with that they were kind of that this is like that that they're now potentially like Perry White, in his essence now maybe being potentially retconned just in the public image? It's like we're eventually going to see, like, comic book wise, animation wise, whatever, it's like we're going to associate Perry White more and more with a black man now. Which again, I'm not objecting to that. I'm just saying that's.
I think he just went with the best actor that he felt that was a fit for the role.
I think so. I think too. It's if you cast a white actor. I mean, I'm just being cynical at this point, but people obviously say, "Oh, look, he race swapped him back to white." But I don't think that was even something that he was considering. I think he just wanted to find the right actor for that portrayal of the character, and I think he did.
It's easy to do too when the race is not a part of the with the character, the base of the character. It's different. Like with Wakanda, obviously it is, but with Perry White, it is not, his ethnicity is not a part of his story that cannot be swapped out. It's different when they did with Nick Fury. Nick Fury completely changed the character. So
and also, I'm not saying this like you couldn't do like a black J. Jonah Jameson, but also it's like Perry White. He's never been, like, as far as like the public conscience, I don't think he's ever been quite as entrenched as far as the supporting character. It's like when you think of like a supporting character, comic book character, universe character who is an editor-in-chief of a news outlet, the first one people tend to think of is J. Jonah Jameson. So guess
what? If just hypothetically speaking, if you didn't have him already playing Nick Fury, I could imagine a Samuel L. Jackson doing all that cussing and screaming, get me more Spider-Man, motherfucker. I mean, I could see him doing that. And be honest with you, I think the world would buy it because he's such a high-profile actor.
Well, there was that fake rumor that was running around that James Gunn was going to cast Stephen A. Smith to play Perry White. I was like, dude, what? Why on earth would you do that? I saw that one. Yeah, I saw it multiple times. I was like, dude, that's not real. Stop.
I would go for it because that's bringing in an audience. You're bringing in he's got a wide audience.
Oh,
and
he
he's
does. Yes.
recognition that he has. You're gonna bring. I like when people do things that bring in the everyman because the everyman is what's going to bring you past the finish line. But if Stephen A. Smith could actually act or pull it off, I wouldn't have minded. That casting would have been funny as hell, dude. I mean, you just watch Stephen A. Smith. When the Cowboys lose, that man is the most entertaining person on the planet.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially when the Cowboys lose. But yeah, no, I mean, but look, like, I'm a fan of doing your own thing and putting your own take on it. And I think that by giving him this logo, this Superman symbol, I think it almost puts like a modern take on it because it's something we haven't seen before, and it makes you wonder if if he sticks around for a long time, if he's able to do his whole plan, is this eventually going to lead to a Kingdom Come storyline farther down the line? You know what I mean? But that would have to be like at the end of your universe. You know what I mean? It'd be hard to pick up after that, but I guess you could. You'd lose Shazam, but still.
I don't even like the place at the end of the universe because once Kingdom Come came out in 1996, it wasn't at the end of the universe. It was a possible.
It was just an offshoot, just kind of one-off Elseworld story.
Yeah. Right. But I'm saying, like, if you were to do that story within the DCU, it feels like that would have to be towards the end of this universe's run, if you want to put it that way. But
that's hold on, guys. The point of Kingdom Come is that it should not take place in the DCU. It should never take place in the DCU. That's literally the point of Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come should actually take place with the people who've done it before as they get older, because it's an alternate future. It is not in line with what Corn Sweat is going to be a Superman, anything like that.
And that's where you're getting a lot of the speculation that he may be doing like an like a kind of like an age swapped version of Kingdom Come, where it's like it's still
it's not Kingdom Come, which is fine. I agree. What you want to do, but there's no such thing as an age swap Kingdom Come. It's literally there's certain things you can't change as part of the story. I would like to. I don't mind Gunn doing a Kingdom Come. I would just don't line it up. Don't put it in line with your current universe, or it actually defeats the purpose. Yeah. That's a universe that failed. That's a universe that.
Yes, I mean, absolutely.
They dropped a bomb on it and killed half the people on the fucking planet.
But that's the thing too, is that Kingdom Come is essentially, metahumans and superheroes, you could say, or superpowered beings are essentially going unchecked. They're doing whatever they want to do, and the world is like almost it's really chaotic. And the Justice League members are all old. Batman has like his, the Bat family that he oversees, and he comes back because they don't have that mentor. They don't have that what do you call it? They don't have that person. Yeah, they don't have the role model. Thank you. They don't have that role model that they need in Superman to keep everyone in check. That's why, I always thought it would have been cool if, if that version of Superman came through the multiverse, and he had to deal with him because, essentially saying, yeah, there's an alternate universe where Kingdom Come did happen, But I mean, look, at the end of Kingdom Come, Shazam sacrifices himself instead of Superman, which, it is what it is. I mean, it's something you could do, but I just think that if you did that in the first movie, I'd be like, what are we doing here? That's just way too advanced to do that in the first, second, or third movie. I mean, it had to be years down the line before you can do anything close to Kingdom Come, in my opinion.
Well, by the way, I need to interject real quick there. I do kind of enjoy that William, he took his hashtag off of the scroll underneath, and what he put there tonight. It's like that. I kind of got a chuckle at that.
A little bit getting a little bit out of hand in some areas of the internet here, but I, like I said, I always think the best way to have the only time I could see entertaining Kingdom Come, because like I said, putting it in line with this one, I would have used the old cast to do that, and that would have been how you wrap that universe up. When I hear people say, well, the so and so fans wouldn't go for it. I've already told you guys many times, when it comes to extremists, it's okay for fanboys to bring up extremists in your conversation, but if you bring up the bots and the bros and the extremists on the other end, you're not having an adult conversation. If you want to have an adult conversation, you talk down the middle, because that's where your money is. I think plenty of people would have gone to see that movie, especially where it would have sat. Have the Rock. I still want my Rock Cavill battle. I got fucked.
Oh hell yeah!
I want the Kingdom Come. Take Magog out of there. Put him in there. Sasha Calle's fighting Shazam that got taken over by Mr. Worm, who we're never going to get to. We see him twice in the Shazam movies, and we never get to see him do what Mr. Mind does, which is like, and those things, you know.
And kind of
That
going
was
back
crazy.
to it was. I kind of going back to the emblem reveal, which I always prefer. And this is just like me being like almost like a grammar Nazi here, but because I always, when it comes to like superhero iconography, I do kind of tend to prefer the term emblem to logo, because I just feel like that just sort of connotates heroism a little bit more. I know. But as far as like the Kingdom Come emblem, it's interesting because I mean this is going to be the second time we're seeing it in live action, because of course we saw it with Brandon Routh on Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that there is, and that wasn't a 1-to-1 Kingdom Come adaptation that had him that had elements of like his what not even like elements of his Kingdom Come backstory, more just like it took it used the iconography of that emblem and some influence of that version of Superman, his background, to transpose it into a multiverse story, which it's like, because I'm a little bit more flexible. I think I said the other night with William, it's like with what they did with Routh, it's like I did, even though it wasn't like an adaptation of Kingdom Come, it's like I did appreciate that within the context of a multiverse story like Crisis. But as far as like
that was cool.
as far as like doing it cinematically, it's like I would kind of it would be my preference if you were doing more of like a straight up a Kingdom Come movie as far as like the emblem. But I mean, obviously, again, with what we saw with how they implemented it with Routh, I mean, it's that leaves a lot open to interpretation with how they're doing it here. So, what?
No.
What?
First of all, Crisis was trash, but that's a different stream. Like I said, I just that this is just a personal preference. That story is special to me because everything means something in there. It was not, that S was not meant to be taken out of that story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because and I said in the show the other night is, if you just I mean, I don't know how you would do this, but like erase from your mind, forget about you ever heard of Superman before. And if you just saw the Kingdom Come emblem, it's like you're not going to. Yeah, I know that's hard to imagine, but if you just saw the Kingdom Come emblem in isolation, it's like you would just think like, well, what's this? But it's because we already have the iconography of the classic S shield. Then your mind can see that and go to, okay, this is Superman, but it's also a reimagined version.
Yeah, but like I said, what that S means to him in that story was kind of cool. But like I said, I always thought that the coolest way to have handled this was not to rush to get this DCU started, to make sure that you shepherded everybody in there, because like I said, Snyder whatevers, they've been called everything under the sun, cultists, extremists, all this, everything but what they should have started out with, and that's customer.
Well, and something, because you were just on the vodka stream a little while ago. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. We've called these people everything but customers, and last I looked, their money.
That's true.
Their money spends just as good. See, their money spent and is spending. You're going for maybe money, and you had those guys there. I'm okay with being greedy. Go for the maybe money, but I got you stand. You know how fucking hard it is to get a customer to get in front of you. You know how many thousands I spend, and then people who have millions, how many millions they spend to get that guy just a shot, not the guaranteed sell, just a shot to get a customer in your presence. And that's, call them whatever you want to. All they've ever done is want to give you their money, and that's how people get rich. But so I would have taken, like I said, that Rock Cavill. I want it. I want that. I want one last blast. Give me a 2-hour movie and blow it away that way, and then
But we're never going to get that, though. I mean, the best we would ever get.
You saying that is 50% of the problem. We've had to settle.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that like, in what scenario does James Gunn say, you know what, you guys can go ahead and make that movie now? It's fine. They're not going to. Now, look, I think the best thing.
I'd say they should have. Listen, he's already made his mistakes, and Superman Legacy is going to pay for.
They should have done one. I agree that there should have been a better plan in place, especially when it came to The Rock and Superman. That would have been really cool.
You don't always get a second chance at that, though. Hold on, Brad. That doesn't go away. Those mistakes that they made, Zazoff
it doesn't go away.
And that's unfortunately you
Well,
got people
Zaslav
working
will.
hard. You got people working hard on a movie that are basically starting 2 miles behind the other sprinters because of mistakes. You know, it's
Well,
unfortunate.
and it really is. I mean, when you look at what was being set up in the DCEU before James Gunn said, "Okay, I'm just going to reboot the whole thing," you know, you had, especially after Shazam, you know, obviously we are going to get Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, because of the way it came out. Even though that should have came out before the Flash, but I guess just special effects wise, it wasn't ready yet. But I think that, you know, it's that would have been the next movie on, like, to set everything up. Like going into like this year, it would have been Superman and Shazam versus Black Adam. That should have been the movie that went into production this year. You know what I mean? As the next big DC movie. And it didn't happen because just poor planning. The
And
right
then
hand.
it's not just the old regime we like to shit on because it's fun. This new regime fucking stupid decisions at the outset.
They do. They made really dumb decisions. I mean, look at the Batman Beyond animated film. The concept
William's
art.
not big on that.
Well, but still,
it's personal issue.
but
I know.
like personally, you're not. But still, that would have made them a ton of money if it was good and it was in the same vein as Across the Spider-Verse. You know, it had that same look to it. I think it could have made them a shit ton of money. And there's been plenty of projects that have been put, you know, that have been offered to Warner Brothers, and they've continued to pass on projects that would have made them a lot of money. And after a while, it does get a little frustrating because you're like, man, like,
you need money, don't you guys?
Yeah,
need money?
Well,
just
yeah,
fucking
well,
do something already.
Well, it's because I've said in articles I've written in the past, it's like, I mean, the companies, as far as like they handle DC, it's becoming more defined by telling you here's what you're not going to get. But
Instead of giving me something.
but William, it's like, you know, to everything we're saying here, because you were on the Vodka stream a little while ago, and something that Phil mentioned, because Phil was on there too, Phil the Four Nerds. How's it going, Phil?
Oh yeah, Phil Barker.
Yes, Phil Barker for it. He made a point similar to what one I made in this article I did about like it was about like the 10 things that are mistakes that they made with DC or they should have done with DC in 2023, and he said the same thing I did, which I mean, he made the points like the Flash should have been the final one of the 4 that were released last year.
Absolutely.
But also, it's like he made the point of, okay, when it ends and he sees Clooney or he sees, oh, all's still not right with my universe, then he speeds off, and so he takes a wrong turn in the Speed Force or whatever, and he, you know, skips over, and now he's in Gunn's universe, and it's like that would have been a smart way to bridge these two franchises, because it's like, A, you're not undercutting your 4 movies coming up by announcing, oh, by the way, we're pulling the plug or rebooting, and also it's like you're creating a bridge, and you're creating, you know, you're creating really kind of a thriving multiverse between, you know, all these, you know, disparate properties. So it's like, yeah, that really been like would have been the smartest thing.
I remember agreeing with him in that, because like I said, Kingdom Come would have been my thing because I really wanted to see those battles. But here's what he came up with tonight, which anything but what they did, anything but what they did.
I know, right?
That thing, you know,
and I like the Flash a lot. I mean,
like
it's like it's just, yeah, the Clooney thing was, you know, kind of, it was, yeah, just, yeah.
Well, but that's the thing though, is that like the Flash, when they set out to make that movie, it was originally intended to be the, you know, the launching of a different DC universe that never even came to be, where you had Sasha Calle as Supergirl, you had Batgirl, you had Keaton as Batman. So that was the launching point for that universe that never came to be, right? So the problem with the Flash was that it should have been the culmination of everything that happened before it, of quote unquote the Snyderverse, and it should have been the culmination of that leading into something else. The problem is that there was no way to correct the course or to, you know, to do reshoots and change the storyline that hard to where you can make a whole different kind of movie. And so, you know, one of the things that we were talking about on the Four Nerds was that, like, I was like, dude, I think we all, you know, agree that I think Andy Muschietti did a fantastic job creating a movie that went through like 3 different regime changes, that went through all these different reshoots, that shot deleted or that shot endings that were never used. And he still if you didn't know any of that, you would have thought like the average person, if they would have watched The Flash, they would have said, "Wow, this was actually a pretty good movie." It is what it is, but they would have thought this is the movie that the guy set out to make. So he did his best to make a movie. Now, I wish that this film would have been the last one to come out and not had Blue Beetle and Aquaman coming out after it, because it just fucked everything up. I still think that you could have actually put you could have delayed Blue Beetle to even like this year and
because he's the
said
first character, yeah.
Yeah, and then say that that's the new DCU, because it was essentially a standalone. Yeah, it had a Batman reference, but that was about it. So the Flash, unfortunately, it had the ability to end the universe with a change, a positive change, and they didn't do that. And besides, the scenario that you're talking about, Brad, if they did that, which I agree they should have done something like that, but if they did that, then that means that you're committing more to Ezra Miller. And I don't think that James Gunn.
Oh, it's actually a good way to not do that. I'm going to attach what you said, because as he's going through, see, here's my storyline that I kind of wrote on a napkin years ago, is that as the Flash is doing these things, he's realizing, when he's trying to stop Darkseid, he realizes that Darkseid is outside the multiverse. So there are other Flashes that are trying to do the same thing.
Like Wally West.
The only way you guys can do this is you all have to reach a certain point before he starts doing anything he's doing to have a hope at a new universe. And they collide. They use the Speed Force. All the Flashes that are there collide and consolidate into one timeline, one new Flash. He's a composite of that's when you cast your Flash. And actually, you don't even need to show his face if you don't have him casted yet. You have a guy standing up in a weird looking Flash dude, and you never see his face, but there's a new Flash going forward. So when you're ready to use that Flash, now you have your new universe. Now you have your knot at the new universe that you have. You have your new Flash if you don't want to do anything with him. And now the universe happens the way it would have normally happened, but under your supervision now. There's a lot of ways you could have done that but they weren't thinking about that. They were rushing to get to this, and they weren't. This is what they were doing. They had some customers in there, because believe it or not, there were still people. The movies that make $0, so there were people that were still there, and there would have been a lot more people there if you hadn't pulled the plug on things ahead of time before you released them.
Yeah.
You're looking at the guy. You're looking at the hot chick at the other end of the room, but you showed up with 3 or 4 chicks that are already with you. You're shoving them out the way. You're just literally shoving them to the ground, and heels and all, and you're sprinting across the other room to get that to the one chick that might like you. The chicks that you were guaranteed to get laid by, that you came into the limo with, you're getting it from them already, but you're pushing them aside because that one hot chick over there, she may give you some not good business. But
well, and to your point also about like the sequence of the movies being released, which it's like, I mean, all of it just got caught up, in just the perfect storm of a merger and a DC Studios being founded, and it's like they got their sights set on, we want to do this, but we have these 4 movies coming up that we didn't make, and we still have an audience for this, but how do we service that and bridge the universe here with the one we're building? But as far as like Aquaman being the one to release last in December, honestly, I think probably the reason why they maintained that was because the first one just did gangbusters in December when it came out. So I think probably with Aquaman they just kind of felt like, okay, this this really broke out in Christmas, and so just Aquaman just really has a home in the holiday season. I think that was probably the extent of their thinking on that.
I think they were just like, just put it out when last time we put it out, and let's just get it over with.
And then ironically, it's the biggest of the 4.
It was the biggest of the 4.
Isn't that a great thing to hear if you've been along this ride, even just as a casual person? Hey, just keep handing you money. I went to go see Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I went to go see.
It's not a good movie. I'm not a fan of Birds of Prey. I think it's a really stupid movie.
I went to go see it. I supported you just for you to tell me, let's just get this. Let's get it over with. I'm like, thanks a lot, shithead. That's like you're cooking your food saying, you know what? Fuck it. Just give him some bologna and cheese just to get rid of it. Just to get rid of him. I've been your customer. Yeah. Dude, I eat at your restaurant all the time. What's with this bologna and cheese? Fuck you. That's you. Listen, the customer retail relationship is number one. and all of this. And nobody at this company seems to understand that, like I said, there's no such thing as a successful retail situation where you cut options and you limit options and you get rid of that customer that it is so hard to get. I don't care whether it's a lemonade stand, comic book store, car salesman. You spend capital to get that customer in you. Once you get him, you never fucking let him go. You never tell your customer to go away unless you're a fucking moron. You never tell that customer you have somewhere else.
Well, look, the problem with Birds of Prey was that when it came out,
by the way, you sparked a lot of Birds of Prey hate in the comments.
Well, but here's the thing: is that when Birds of Prey came out, it didn't do anything. It was just kind of like okay, that's a movie. Where does that take us? What does that do for the universe? It does jack shit for the universe, and that's what pissed me off about Birds of Prey was that it was essentially a standalone movie that was softly connected to Suicide Squad, but it really wasn't. But it was. And at the end of the day, it led to nowhere. And it was kind of like, what was the point of that? And on top of that, it's like you have the Suicide Squad come out, and it has no reference to Birds of Prey. So essentially, the movie was like, it was a concept that they were working on for a while, and then they ended up doing it. And it's funny because the movie is based on the idea that Harley Quinn and the Joker broke up, which was gonna be it was going to be in the Ayer cut. The Ayer cut was building towards them breaking up because she realizes that it's an unhealthy relationship, even though she's not really of the right mind, but still they were going to break up. And now it's like, you see this movie and she's dressed ridiculous. I thought the costumes in that were atrocious. It was just a really dumb movie. It really was.
And it hurt the Harley Quinn brand, in my opinion. So,
and even then, when that came out, we didn't know where Cavill was at. We didn't know when we were going to get another Superman movie. We didn't know. Everything was so up in the air, and yet you're getting Birds of Prey, right? And then
that's what I mean by settling. That's the settling thing. I was like,
that was their problem. Like after a JL-17 was the fact that everything you're saying about Birds of Prey, it's like, okay, it's a movie. It centers on this collection of characters, but what does this do as far as service in the universe? That's really what their problem was post.
Yeah.
After Justice League 17 was every movie was it's okay whether you like them or not. It's like each one. It's like, how is this progressing the universe forward? And then ironically enough, the only one to really do that was ZSJL. So.
Yeah, that was the only one, and even like the first Shazam, I actually like the first Shazam.
I love the first Shazam.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Because not only that, but it was heavily based on New 52, but the only thing I didn't like about it, but I get why they were doing it at the time, was that I felt like in Shazam 1, Black Adam should have been the villain. And Dr. Savannah could have also been a part of that, because that ended up leading nowhere anyway. Because I mean, like, you got that end credit scene in Shazam: Fury of the Gods for no fucking reason, because you're never going to see a continuation of that story. But Shazam 1, I liked a lot. I'll watch that any day. I think it's a good movie.
It's a Christmas rewatch for me.
One of my favorite DC movies. I love Shazam 1.
But then you get Birds of Prey, and you're like, okay, what are we doing with this? Why are we doing this? And where does it take the universe? It took it nowhere. It was just there to exist. And then what came out after that? After Birds of Prey?
Then we had Wonder Woman 84, which that was it was a prequel, and really, it's like I really headcanon that more as like an Elseworlds kind of story anyway. But again, that didn't really, as far as like progressing the universe forward, it wasn't really doing that either. And then of course the Snyder Cut came out. That was progressing the universe forward as it was intended to do when it was initially made. But then of course the studio didn't want it to progress the universe forward.
They didn't want it.
Yeah,
because you had Walter Hamada.
Mr. Cul-de-sac.
Yeah, well, not only that, but he was already developing his own universe, so that's where he wanted to go. You had Toby Emmerich, who doesn't like Zack Snyder, who was never going to push that stuff forward and never going to, go back and say, okay, let's make this our canon and move forward from there. Like, I saw your tweet, Brad, and you're like, this is the biggest do-over ever.
The best do-over of all time, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it should have been, and that's what it could have been.
Yeah, they
fucked it up again.
The studio looked such a gift horse in the mouth like I've never seen anybody do in my life.
Go
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to lay it out a bit more as far as like the progression of things, because then you had the Suicide Squad come out, which again that was more of a it was a one-off. It wasn't really like it wasn't actively building off of anything or like actively other than Peacemaker was it was really the only thing that moved forward was Peacemaker, and then again that was it was largely again it was mostly kind of an isolated thing other than the Justice League cameo. Even that we only got like 2 of them there and the rest were in silhouette. And then the Batman, that's not part of the universe, so but that's moving its own universe forward. And then we had Super Pets again, that's again that's its own thing. Then we finally get the Black Adam. It's like that's the first one to start moving the other than the Snyder Cut, start moving the universe forward again as far as like getting Superman back and getting the JSA introduced. And then of course 2 months later we get the plug pulled on it, and then we had the 4 movies come out that had their they got cut off at the knees, and the Flash was the one that was the biggest one as far as moving the universe forward, but again it was put into a bad situation.
100% on Zaslav, by the way. 100% on Zaslav, because what should have happened once he sent DeLuca and Abdi on the one mission, he shouldn't have undercut them. Now, that doesn't mean you can't bring in James Gunn, but you have to organize things. You have to organize your plan. You tell it, you have this limited amount of time. You have this many minutes to wrap this up in this bow. Nothing. See, and the biggest mistake I think Zaslav made was putting James Gunn in charge of things that he did not create, as far as like all of his universe that he's doing right now and everything, Peacemaker and all that. That's his going forward, and that's what he should be building on. Everything else should have been left over to the people who were running it before he got there, with the explicit purpose of putting an end to it, not continuing it, putting a credible end to it on one hand, and your secondary mission is to boost the shit out of this new guy you just hired up. That's what it should have happened. That's the CEOs. When you have that's why I want my biggest hope is in Zaslav's replacement. I want a younger guy who understands these IPs and what they mean and the diversity of the IPs. The single-minded DC thing is fucking stupid. I will tell you that. That's why I hate Crisis. That's why I hate all the stupid ass consolidations that they always do. We can only do one universe at a time. Yeah, if your audience is if you have a room full of fucking morons that are easily confused, sure.
Yeah.
Well, our audience, they love Scary Movie. I'm just messing with you guys, okay?
That's a great movie.
Well, I give the DC fans.
Andre, come on, man! I'm going through enough pain as it is.
I'm a big fan of those movies. I think they're funny.
On the comic book level, on the cinematic level, I think that DC constantly, even now, robs itself of the most unique asset that it has that no other company has, and that's its diversity to be able to tell parallel stories, not a bunch of them, but where you need them. I think that is where they understood they fucked that up in 1986 with Crisis, because immediately after Crisis, they started undoing that stupid shit. And when you try to do it in the movies, you waste what DC is. You waste that. When they got rid of all that, and like I said, they literally paid the price. The decline of DC Comics didn't start in the mid-90s. It got worse in the 90s, but the decline of DC Comics actually started in 1986, when you basically did exactly what I said you just never fucking do. You never tell your customer, I'm done with you. And they basically told a good third of their audience, the people who had been collecting up to that point, that your lineage no longer matters. By the way, maybe you'll like this new thing, maybe you won't. We don't give a fuck. And that started a 11-year erosion that culminated in the mid-90s, and then they started to undo it. The whole point of Elseworlds was to undo the stupid single, let's do one universe because we don't want to confuse anybody. That's you come in, like I said, you come into my office with that, and let Brad. I mean, like you're my new guy, right? You're my new CEO of DC Studios, and if you come in to me, boss, I don't want to confuse everybody with this or that, so I'm just going to want to, and I'm going to be like, okay, so we're done here. Do me a favor, open the door, and you see that guy sitting at the secretary's desk? That's the person who replaced you now. And I'm going to hope he's not as single-minded as you are, because you just basically fucked away the main advantage that DC has over everything and everyone. So
I've never gotten fired that quick.
Yeah, you're fired. Anybody else, and if the next guy, I don't care if it's the next 10 guys, if you come into me and your job is to tell a story, and you give me this, I don't want to confuse you. Listen, this will get you thrown out of the fucking window. I don't want to confuse myself. You know what? You're gone. I don't care how fucking high up we are. Brad, Dad, take a look at the scenery. Tell me how it feels once you get to the bottom. You come into my office and it's my job to make money, and you come in with those stupid things. You're going out one way or the other, but you're no longer going to be on my payroll because that's just fucking stupid. That's what they can do from 86 to now. What is the problem? Why can't they figure? Is it a bunch of old dudes who just don't understand the IP? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, I was about to say earlier with
ahead.
Zaslav, I think it'd be so hilarious, because we're all talking about. I mean, again, with all this talk about yet another merger, yet another sale, whatever it's going to be. I mean, with that much smoke around, I mean, I think everybody's kind of thinking, yeah, the writing's on the wall for something like that in the fairly near future. And I think I made this point previously. So I would find it so hilarious if Zaslav left and Kylar came back.
I would love that because that guy understood the modern world. I don't need any more of these fossils, man. I don't need any more of these fossils who think of the comic book characters as, I grew up with Superman when I was a kid, and I know what Superman is. Get that guy over here. Let him run it. And then because when you don't understand the IP, you fall for the stupid shit. You fall for, I don't want to confuse anybody. And we'll compete with ourselves. When you don't understand DC, you're susceptible to the stupid shit. So maybe a Kylar, a guy who's in his early 50s instead of his mid 60s and late 70s, maybe we'll get somebody finally. The first guy who does it wins. And that's a huge advantage for everybody who's working under them, whether it be Safran, Gunn, anybody. The first person that understands what DC is at that level, not at the James Gunn level, but at the CEO level, that understands that will win. We've never had that guy.
Never.
And we need that guy. We used to have those guys in the comics, but then they, like I said, they got fucked away when, why I don't want to have to explain why Superman has gray hair. Your people are reading comics, which means they're fucking literate. Let them figure it out. I mean, come on. So,
I mean, if you were to, make sure that you're, distinguishing your Elseworlds division or category of movies, with Joker, with the Batman, I mean, how many people these days, like they're so locked into social media on Twitter, on Facebook, on whatnot. A lot of people already get their information from social media. And so it's like, you can really pump this through social media where everyone understands that you have an Elseworlds, category of DC films, like Joker, the Batman, and expand upon that if you wanted to. But
Kingdom Come is the height of Elseworlds,
right? And but it would have given DC something really cool. Like you can do like a Gotham by Gaslight, something different, something unique to DC that Marvel can't do, right? That haven't established themselves that they can do. But look, and I'm not saying they should have done Elseworlds that way they could finish Zack Snyder's story, which would have been awesome. But what I'm saying is that you had the opportunity to make a lot of different stories that are Elseworlds stories in the comics as live action movies under the Elseworlds banner and make a lot of money. Yeah. And on top of that, you could have had a number of those be on HBO Max. I'm sorry, Max.
Call it HBO Max. Just call it HBO Max. I can't do it.
But you had an opportunity to do that, and now it's like when you really look at what they're doing with that whole Elseworlds thing, it's almost like he just created that label because he inherited the Batman and Joker. And like I said before, WB does not want to be, or they want to be in the Matt Reeves and Todd Phillips business. They want more of their movies under Warner Bros. Discovery. And so, they're like, hey, look, we know you're going to take over. We want you to do your own thing. But at the end of the day, we don't want to lose these two filmmakers. So what
if Denny comes in? Denny Villeneuve comes in and says, I want to do this. Like I said, Brad, he's going to come in there with his Oscars because he's winning a whole bunch of Oscars this year.
Oh, after doing two, he damn sure is.
He's coming in here. He's going to put those offers down, and not Zazoff just because he'll be gone by then. He's going to put these Oscars down here and say, this is what I want to do. I appreciate what James Gunn's doing over here, but I'm Denny Villeneuve. I got 6 Oscars right now in front of you, right? In fact, you know what, Dave? Hold one of these. While I sit down here and pour this wine for both of us. And I'm going to lay out my story, and regardless of what's going on in James Gunn's universe, you're going to tell him you're going to send him somewhere else with that idea, or you're going to do it and call it Elseworld. I say you got to do it and call it Elseworld because that's a filmmaker that draws people now. And he's Key Ryan coming back, he's hated by filmmakers. WB. Here's the thing though, He may not come back, but it needs to be somebody like him. But by the way, all you guys that are gonna love with the money that Dune pulls in, like I said this earlier tonight, you can thank Jason Carroll whether you want to or not, because a majority of those fans were not going to pay to see Dune 1. And the fact that they got to watch them on HBO and mitigate that risk made them fans. And when you did Dune 2 on exclusively in theaters, those fans carried over. It was a complex ITP.
Yeah,
Dune was going to bomb. In fact, it made 400 million, and it did good money. But trust me, when a good percentage, because the people we filled our thing up with on Monday, those are people that when we promoted the movie, they didn't go with us. They went with us and they watched it on HBO Max because they didn't spend $125 on the mistress, the wife, the kids, and everybody else to go to the theater. So that mitigated that risk. They could watch it at their own pace, and you went from people who would have never seen it to people who saw it and became fans. So now here comes Dune 2, and now you have two dimensions of fans. And that was Kylar. Kylar was thinking of the future, while everybody else was trying to start fires with two rocks, man. So I would love for a guy. He may not be, but somebody like him.
When it comes to Dune, I mean, are they making anything past Dune 2, or is that the end of the story?
Well,
Doom Messiah.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up too, because Danny actually was, and yeah, there is Doom Messiah, which he has said he's writing, but also he was just interviewed where he's in
the show too. Don't forget about the show, the Jesuit show, not Jesuit.
He did mention like he's got other things he's working on. So it's like Dune. He's writing Dune Messiah, but he also said it's not going to be the thing to immediately follow Dune Part 2. So he hasn't said what that is. Those other projects he's working on, but just to kind of give a little context there.
Superman, Brad. It's super. No, I'm just kidding.
Superman Legacy. So let's talk about that. James Gunn changed the name from Superman Legacy to Superman.
Thank you.
What did you think about that?
I am not a fan of that.
That was best news because I'm tired of the word. Stop, people out there everywhere. Stop using the word legacy. Tron Legacy, Star Trek Legacy. Stop it. There are more words that describe what you're trying to do, especially now when you're trying to bring people back home. It's Superman.
And to that point where it's like, you said there are more. Yeah, there are more words. So I was, my point, we were talking about this the other night, was that I like the general idea of like of even if it's not legacy in the title, it's just Superman : something else, like if you call it Superman Man of Tomorrow, if you call it Superman Last Son, something like that. It's like that, because when you do that, it's like you're really demarcating like what that you're putting a unique stamp on the character with this movie and with this version that you're presenting. Which is Superman in isolation. I feel like it is I just feel like it's like you just add a little more imagination to the title, because I mean it's like, of course people know Superman's in it.
Well, I like Superman. It's like when bands go back to their roots of things and they're trying to get you to focus on that their thing. Like Metallica had plenty of albums that were not, the Black Album, that was just a self-titled album, but it ends up their best-selling album. A lot of the times, like I said, I don't mind that. I mean, when you did Man of Steel, that was fine because, like I said before, Man of Steel was synonymous with Superman for almost all of his 86 years. Man of Tomorrow, all this other stuff wasn't. So Man of Steel, if I walked up on the strip and asked anybody from no matter where they were, who's the Man of Steel, more than likely they're going to be able to tell me Superman. But if I go up there and I say, who's the Man of Tomorrow, they're going to look at me, what, Captain Kirk? So I understand the business why they did it. Go ahead and bring up the. Is that what you ought to do? I'm going to do it. There you go.
Yeah, go ahead. And there's a logo in case anyone hasn't seen it yet.
With cocaine on it. Is Rick James in this movie?
Rick James. But no, I think
that was awful. Sorry.
No, it was good. I love the fact that they changed the name to just Superman, because look, if you're going to kick off your new DC universe, just flat out make it Superman. Superman Legacy, to me, it alienates some of the fans who haven't watched some of these movies. And so if they see a title, Superman Legacy, it makes it kind of feel like, oh, is this like a part 2 to something? Is this connected to something else? If you just call it straight up Superman, then that goes without saying. It's a Superman movie. It's a whole new start. And so I think it was a good idea to leave off Legacy, because there was too much to. At the same time, everyone's like, "Why is it called Legacy? Like, why? What does it connect to? Is it about his son? Is it about So I like that it's just Superman. Not only that, but it's so much easier to market when it's just Superman as opposed to Superman Legacy. You got to make a shit ton of money off of anything that says Superman because the movie's called Superman. That was a great idea.
It goes back to the basics of it, and like I said, when you're trying to get back to every man that you've lost, this is a clarion call that you know what, this is a good starting point.
Yes.
The S helps. I do like the edging around it, even though if I'm not the biggest fan of using the Kingdom Come outside of it, but it for what it is done very well. I do like the combination of a lot of the different things. I just wish, like I said, Kingdom Come wasn't on there, but that's fine. I'm not gonna not see the movie because of this or the Trunks. I know the Trunks are coming.
You think he's gonna do Trunks?
Yeah, I think he's going to be Trunks.
Brad, what do you think?
Listen, if I'm pleasantly surprised, I mean, Brad, what do you think? You think he's going to do the draw?
I think it's 50-50 on the Trunks. I mean, it's the Trunks again are not. Yeah, they're not. Like I said, it's not a deal breaker for me. But I think we also, because we've seen from 2011, from New 52 on, in comics, in movies, on TV, we have seen so many versions without the Trunks. Where it's like, I think in a lot of ways, Superman really has kind of evolved past the need for Trunks being a staple of the suit.
Why are you wearing your drawers outside of your pants, man?
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. Like, if there's Trunks, he's gonna have a joke about it. I would rather him just have a red belt. You know what I mean? Something like that, where it's like, okay, there's the red, but it's a belt. That's fine. I would hope he doesn't do Trunks because I think it looks cleaner. It looks more modern without the Trunks. But we'll see what he does. But I'm glad he dropped the word legacy from the name. I felt that there was too much of, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah,
I didn't want your average fan to be like, Superman Legacy. What is that? Why is it called that? It's very easy to stop and think, why is it called that for? What's up? But the fact that it's called Superman, I like that, and that's how you're starting your universe, with just Superman. Yeah. Now, granted, there's gonna be a lot of characters in this.
Characters that make me kind of nauseous growing up with these characters. Every one of these characters he's introduced, I cannot fucking stand. Guy Gardner, I hate Guy Gardner. I'm waiting for Nord. I know Nord's coming, so I'm gonna brace myself. Nord is coming. Metallo, or Metamorpho. These are characters, like I always say, when I saw these characters popping up in the comics, either as a dealer or as a collector as a kid, I knew it's like a bookmark. That was where it was time for me to stop collecting Justice League. I couldn't stand those characters, but like I said, those aren't a deal breaker for me either, or because like I liken it to Polka Dot Man. So my bottom line is, do I care about whether these characters live or die or whether they're going through? He made me care about Diebeard, so I'm not as a tone. I wish he brought these goofball characters in, but he is, and I'm like, okay, that's not a deal breaker. The thing about, for me, is like I said, is going to be the longevity of the storyline and what foundation it brings. Once again, I am not a solitary movie fan. If you're selling me a universe, that's what I want. So I'm going to be looking at this more than just a movie. I'm going to be looking at what is the groundwork, so that when I see Supergirl in there, how does that come off, and does that get me going?
Dude.
Does it get me going in this direction?
I'm telling you right now, like if they have like a big bad and like Brainiac in this first film, which they may or may not. Either way, I'm gonna love if Superman early on in the film just flies out of orbit and goes straight to the Watchtower, and it's already there, and you have superheroes, Justice League members already inside of it, working and doing their thing. I think that'd be really, really cool to see.
That intrigues me that they're already there. That's one of the things that I think I do like about this situation, is that it's going to be a different world with all these things existing. And I like the other way too. I like the building up of those universes. I like
but I think at this point we've seen so much build up from Marvel, so much, even build up from DC. I think now fans are at a point where they can absorb a new universe, one that already exists and is already in place. Imagine if he's like, if he flies, all of a sudden you see the Watchtower in orbit. You're like, holy shit! He goes inside, and there you see, Mr. Terrific and all these guys, are already existing and working on whatever they're trying to work on or whatever, and talking with Superman. I just think it'd be really cool to see that. Like, oh wow, here we go. We're already well into this universe. I like that, and then you can always go back and do like stories that happened, before Superman Legacy or whatnot. But I mean, already we're probably going to get a much older Batman, kind of similar to what we got in BVS. But although this Batman won't be, out there trying to kill everybody and pissed off at everybody. But you're going to have a much older Batman because you're going to have a Nightwing. You're going to have a Damian Wayne. You're going to have, a Bat family that's already, already existing. So that excites me to see something like that because we haven't seen it before. The closest thing we've
There's
seen.
There's a reason.
There is a reason, but I think that the most you've ever seen is what's his name, O'Connell's Robin. And we've never seen another version of Robin really ever, except for John Blake. I wouldn't count that as Robin.
And you see him on the TV shows. But here's the thing about this, and I think this is where they may stumble. I think Batman is where they're going to have an unusual problem that you're not used to having with Batman, because generally Batman gets you $400 million just right out of the door before you even assign anybody to direct it. Batman is worth $400 million at the box office just on its own, and then how much more you make depends on how good the movie is and how good the director is and how good the feel. I think this one's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see, because the reason why, and I said this earlier tonight, the reason why Batman is so much more popular these days is because he is every person that's going through what the world is right now. He is the rage. He's the vengeance. He beats the guy's head in so that you don't have to get fired from your job to do that. He's the guy who goes out in the dark and thinks like you do, who's the cynic. He's what America is today. And he works best when he's solitary. He works best in the comics when he's the sales of the comics. Now, these other characters are cool, but in a comic book, you have plenty of space to give Nightwing. You have plenty of space to give. You can give them those people their own series and still have them guess. But when it comes cinematically, I don't know. And I could be completely wrong. I'll wait to see if it's the solitary. If you take away the solitary nature of Batman, if that works when the formula has always been one-on-one. I relate to him one-on-one. I don't have a family of assassins. Yeah, we all have families, but that's not what makes Batman relatable to people. It's the rage. It's the anger. Yeah. It's the looking at, and that's why I always say get Superman and Batman together ASAP. I don't care who's doing the universe. You must get Superman and Batman together, and the reason why is because Superman's story, the contrast of what Batman is a better story to be told in that contrast. Superman is what we aspire to be. Batman is who we are. And I love when they put those two men together. They both have the same goal, but they have drastically different ways of bringing it, and they both relate to all of us, mankind, in different ways that works for completeness. But the Batman family, the only reason I have ever had for the Batman family is to die, is to be killed off or mutilated. I voted to kill Robin in 428. So that was me. I called the 1-800-900 number because I hate the concept of Robin.
Well, but I mean, still, it's like, when you have a show like Lanterns, that's going to be what he says similar to True Detective. And
I hope it's like last season, because the last season I'm still absorbing it, but it's really good.
This is the one with Jodie Foster.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that this weekend.
It's we got to be patient with it, and have to understand that not everything is going to have a fairy tale connection. Some things just end where they are, and I'm okay with how they ended it. But if he gives me something like that, see, like that's the kind of thing I'm down with. I'm all for, because we never got a Green Lantern.
Right.
Paradise Lost, like I said, if you do it like Spartacus Blood and Sand, I say if you're going to do it on Max, why don't you do a Game of Thrones style, if you know what I mean? But like I said, but I'm all for. I don't think DC will ever be where it needs to be until it embraces the things that make DC strong. And James Gunn is going to do his thing, and that's great. But that should not that should be one tool in the shed. And we always pick the shiniest one. But like I said, I think when you have 86 years of storytelling, you have a lot of different dimensions DC is the only company that has that length of time to where they have so much runway, they can tell stories a different way. There's going to be, like I always say, there's going to be half the people who identify as Superman fans, and nobody wants to believe me, but I think this might bear at the box office, that are not going to see this movie, that are just not going to give this movie a chance. They may down the line, but not in the theater. That might not be their tone. That may not be their whatever. There's a lot of legit, not just people who are mad. There's a lot of legit people who just were not going to identify with this particular Superman. And that's why I was always, cool that if you had Kingdom Come Superman was unlike anything that was going on in comics at that time. Those people that had left the Superman comic, that weren't buying action, that weren't buying Superman, that weren't buying Man of Steel, they picked up Kingdom Come.
Right. So but I mean, like when you talk about a Lantern show, that even James Gunn has said that like Lanterns will basically be the first look at what the bigger story is for his DC universe. It gets me thinking about Final Crisis. Like this scene right here, when Orion's body is found dead, and I think this detective kind of finds it. To me, it's kind of like, what if you had a scene like this, but instead of this detective, you had the Lantern showing up, and they're like, what the hell? They kind of stumble upon this crime scene where they're like, the hell's going on here? You know what I mean? And they're trying to figure out what's happening. Something creepy, something mysterious, and then maybe even Batman appears in the scene like he did in this scene in the comics. But I just think like you can do a lot of really cool things if you make it a true detective type series for Lanterns, and then it takes them to different areas of the universe as they're trying to figure out, put the pieces of the puzzle together about how Orion died or something like that, where they're trying to figure it out. And then, because like you said, this is supposed to be the first step in, or the first lead into the greater story of, chapter 1. Because I mean, there's a lot of rumors that chapter 1 is going to end with Justice League New Frontier. That's one thing that I've heard. I don't know if it's true or not, that the Justice League movie that he's building up to is Justice League New Frontier. Now, obviously, this scene right here would have nothing to do with New Frontier. This is all about Final Crisis.
Now,
but
when you say Justice League New Frontier, I mean, because New Frontier is obviously a time period piece. Are we?
Well, that's the thing too, is that I think if he does something like New Frontier, it's going to be set in modern times, not be a period piece. But we'll see.
That's the story, though, man.
I know, but we'll see what he does. I'm not sure, but I've heard that's what he's going for. But I mean,
I could see it. But the coolest thing about Justice League, and we'll watch it tomorrow, by the way, if you want to stop by at 2 p.m.
I know. I watched it the other day. It's not that bad, actually.
It's actually really good. It's actually one of my favorite DC animated things that they've been in the book. We featured the book last week, the comic book. I think what makes New Frontier special is it's like, okay, 1959, the first appearance of Hal Jordan, it's happening in 1959. So it's telling the stories as they're being brought out. I guess you could retro. I just think, for me, and this is just me, the things that make the story special, it's almost like you're performing surgery. You got to be real careful because you don't want to eliminate that aura that made that. That's what made that special to me, is that timepiece period that it was. But, I mean, I wouldn't mind to see him do that. Hey, what's up? I wouldn't mind to see him do that. I would just be like, how does it going to feel without
unless he does something kind of like what's that movie with Jude Law? Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow. I saw that. Unless he makes a world like that, where it's kind of like, it's how do I explain? You know what I mean? Where it kind of has that feel of like a period piece, but at the same time it has technology and it's somewhat set in modern day, even though they dress and act and look like a period piece. They still have access to technology. He might be doing something like that, and so that's how he's going to integrate, a New Frontier.
I like I said, if you're going to institute, get away from this JLI stuff that you're filling all these characters with that remind me of my JLI mental crisis I had. But if you're going to do a story like that, that's the story. That's the story to do.
Speaking of that, because I think I've asked this question of William before, but I want to go ahead and ask you too, Andre. I mean, the idea, again, this is all speculation that he's going to be, involved in the JLI as kind of like his big team, of heroes. Is there, and again, this is all theorizing on my part. Is that do you think that there might, if that is what he's doing, that might be partly motivated by the fact that the proper Justice League is now so closely associated with the Snyder Cut that kind of makes it, unless you're going to continue that version of the story, it basically makes it like a hot potato?
I answered this, but I want to hear your answer, Nikatina.
I think that this is just my guess, is that I think that Superman, I want to call it legacy. I think that Superman is gonna start off with a Justice League that's made up of a lot of different characters that we haven't seen on the big screen before, and I think that this is going to be a more an evolved later version of the Justice League, and I think that that's why he has all those JLI images that he was sharing, because I think that it's not going to be called the JLI, but I think that the Justice League is going to be comprised of different characters from around the world. Um, and I think that sort of like what we saw with, like kind of like Watchmen, where you had your Justice League with, Wonder Woman and Batman and, the original Justice League. I think that that already existed. And now a lot of them aren't on the team anymore because they're off doing their own thing, because they already did the whole Justice League thing for a long time. And now the team has evolved into a team that is more international and has more restrictions. And I think that's what's going to lead him to, to reaching out to try and resurrect the Authority.
Disagree. I think I don't think he has any, and he cannot have any reservations about using those characters. If he does, he's done from square one. You can't have. There was too many mistakes. Like I said, some of those were he made the mistakes that they made outright weren't as damning as the ones that the Amada and the Sarnoff made. He can't run his company based on their mistakes. So I hope that he's just doing the story that he wants to. Like I said, I can't stand the JLI characters, but I'm willing to give it a chance because, like I said, I've seen what he does with characters that are kind of useless, and the entire, the non-mainline DC heroes that make up just JLI are fucking useless. So, but like I said,
Droga has a fan theory here.
I'm gonna lock out the word good burger. I'm gonna see, so you guys won't be able to type that shit in the damn chat.
Yeah. They find a good burger. I like that.
I hate that show, and the
but
whole movie.
I mean, like to me, I think that's more what I was talking about is more of a compelling story. Why did the original Justice League disband, or why did they break apart? And then you kind of learn about their stories as the movie goes on, and as the next films kind of come and go, you'll learn more about the events that happened when they were the Justice League. And I think that this will build up to that original Justice League coming back together again and reforming the original Justice League. I think that's what this is going to build up to, is this is going to culminate in the original Justice League coming back together again to form the Justice League to take on whatever threat, bad guy that they're building up to for this chapter.
Well, because the reason I ask is that it just because of just the how the situation that led up to this, as far as like as Justice League as a movie and the characters in it, is that how much of that as far as like planning your universe, planning your franchise, it's like how much of that is does the history of that, because it's so unique, because it's really so one of a kind, and because it's so really is such a, in a lot of ways, almost like a scarlet letter on the studio with how they handled it. Is like, does that in some way, unless you are going to continue that story, does that in some way put those characters off limits, and not just the proper Justice League, but also characters like Darkseid? I mean, that's a thought I've had in my head for a while. Is like what characters, if any, or it's like are for lack of a better term, off limits right now?
I think Darkseid's off limits because you already kind of went there and failed with it because you of all your missteps. I would imagine that, like I said, if you start off this movie where the Justice League, Batman, Wonder Woman, all these, the main core of Justice League is still together and is a team, I think, to me, it's more intriguing if they're not a team anymore. And the mystery and kind of the curiosity of, well, what happened with the old team? Why did they disband, and why are they this new team now? You know what I mean? Like what happened? And it allows you to learn more about the characters, about Wonder Woman, about Batman. And it also allows you to not have all those characters in this movie. Because imagine if this movie also includes Batman, Wonder Woman, Hal Jordan, You know what I mean? Like that's a Cyborg. I mean that's a shit ton of characters that you have to cover. I think that this will lay the groundwork for the mystery of what happened to the original Justice League that only they know about, but the audience doesn't. And you're gonna have to learn about their past as the stories go on. I mean, and like I said, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying, I'm just spitballing right now because you have to make something intriguing about the original Justice League without having them all in the movie.
Yeah, I just because I hope he has the time to tell the story. I am not convinced that he does. So, and this is a lot. This is a lot to put out there and get going. And then, I just don't think he has that kind of time unless somebody comes out and tells me that this guy's under an ironclad contract for the next 10 years. Otherwise, that's a lot of universe to spread over the amount of time he has under his current contract. And that David Zaslav's existence with Warner Brothers Discovery.
Well,
that's a lot.
Relating to kind of all the merger talk. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was a report a few days ago that said that I think it was said that Paramount. Yeah, it was Paramount because they were like one of the prospective like merging companies, and it's been reported. Yeah, they're not going to be pursuing that, so they kind of taking themselves off the board on that. So I think William, you'd. Like, who would you tossed out as you thought was most likely? Because a lot of people are speculating like Universal, but like, who were you thinking were like the most likely buyers?
Yeah, Comcast is not going to take on the debt. You have Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft are going to be your three buyers. One of those three is going to buy it.
Yeah, I think so.
And when they buy it, I hope that this fairy tale that people have in their heads about them not bringing their own people to do their thing. I hope you guys are right because I don't want to waste. I don't have too much. I mean, none of us are going to live forever, and I've already wasted enough time. I don't want to waste anymore. But this is what happens every day. History tells you that the new boss brings in his people to fit his vision.
And see, here's the thing too, because I was thinking a little about this a little bit more today, because I was relating a lot of this back to like one thing I've brought up on prior streams is I always found it kind of cool, kind of poetic in some ways. In 2021, when you had the first superhero movie that year was Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the last one was Spider-Man: No Way Home, and they were both, they're both very significant. They're both very historically significant, as far as CBMs go, and in very different ways, but very important ways. And I was thinking back to, also watching it's so much fun going on YouTube and like watching the in theater reactions to No Way Home, because it just we all had those. We all had the theaters, full of everybody just going nuts when Daredevil showed up, and then when the other two Peters showed up, and all of them teaming up. But I was thinking about this some more today, and really kind of the thing I thought back to, relating it to No Way Home, is that really, I think that's what the thing that Warner Brothers and DC, that's like really they've been lacking, and they've had a couple of times where they've come close to, is that they really need like the the kind of like the No Way Home, like bridging the fandoms thing. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean like any like one movie or one mechanism, but the thing about No Way Home that made it so great, made such a landmark, was the fact that you were like bridging all these generations of Spider-Man fans and Marvel fans and it became just this cultural zeitgeist. I mean, it kind of defined the holiday season of 2021, cinematically in a lot of ways, and that's the thing that really that they keep. They've come close a couple times where it's like where they started with DC fandom and the introduction of the multiverse, through Crisis and then they started to have that, I think, with the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League and the response that that got, and then the studios themselves undercut that, and then I think that they had the potential to do that again with the Flash, but the problem was, again, they undercut that again by announcing we're rebooting ahead of that coming out. So they just keep having these things come up where it's like they could have like this No Way Home-esque kind of just bridging and just uniting of the fandom all under one umbrella. And
you gotta actually care about your customer to do that. You actually have to care about your customer and actually give them credit for not being a fucking fool for that to happen. And Feige and the people who do that, that's the one thing that that's part of the pillars of their success. They don't take their fans for idiots. They may not put out the best shit all the time, but at no point in time during this entire run, even going back to Feige's Fox days and the Fox Marvel thing, at no point in time did you feel like you were being treated like a fucking idiot. Whereas, there was
taken for granted.
Yeah, there's no such thing as we're not going to put out this character. You might. When's the last time Marvel worried about confusing you? It doesn't happen. Smart people don't think like stupid shit like that. So first, you have to care about your customer. You have to care about their time, and you have to take them seriously and give them credit for not being a stooge. And you just don't have that in DC. You just don't. And it's unfortunate. The difference between DC and Marvel is management.
And again, that was why I made the No Way Home comparison, because again, to be fair, that's Sony and Marvel kind of in tandem with each other. But again, the fact that but the fact that they created that with No Way Home, they created that event where it was like it really felt like, to be a fan of Spider-Man singularly or any particular version of him, or just the Marvel brand in general, it felt like they had created this event that was like the whole, if you were the whole fandom of Marvel, of Spider-Man, were just brought under one big tent for just a big party. And it's like that's what they keep. They keep like getting 6 inches away from that with stuff they do with DC, but then the studio itself just keeps undercutting it.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, though, and for anybody who the competing and the confusing angle, like I said, it's like they're two dummies. I just want to ram their heads together. Those two thought plans, because guess what? There's a really giant lizard that just came out from Toho, and there's another giant lizard that looks and sounds an awful lot like the same fucking Godzilla. And is anybody worried about, I'm confused, there's too many Godzillas, and those are happening within months of each other. So that argument is stupid.
Yeah,
Stop
it is.
Even melding with that shit. Stop. They're competing with themselves. You think Toho is worried about competing with Legendary, and Legendary is worried about competing with Toho? No, because it's stupid. That premise is dumb. That's going to be my scroll down there from now on. But competing with yourself and the confusion angle, it's stupid.
Is that going to be hashtag
It
too?
is stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
It's too long for a hashtag. But come on, you just got to be creative, man. Got to be creative. All right. Well, Marvel does everything better because they once again, you have to care. You actually have to care. It starts with the customer.
Yeah, it's not a matter of the storytelling being better. It's a matter of the management of the storytelling being better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had a lot of fans that cared about the MCU because they cared about the characters that they've been watching for 10 years. When those characters moved on, they did a shitty job at introducing all the new characters, and it's taken so long. And the problem is that fans have not grown attached to the new characters because they try to introduce too many and over a weird amount of time. It was just really weird. And they have to kind of and essentially by doing the multiverse saga, like they've had to go back and rehash a lot of the older characters and characters from Fox, like Deadpool, bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, bring back the X-Men. They've had to rehash a lot of these characters because the characters they tried to create or introduce and build up, they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah,
so
they're
having to go up.
Yeah, you look at that. It's like, I mean, had No Way Home, we were going to have Deadpool versus Wolverine. We've got the restructuring of Daredevil, Born Again to be in line with the Netflix show. So really, like, post Endgame, it's like either their biggest successes or the things that are most anticipated or the things that are harkening back to pre-Endgame / non-MCU stuff.
I mean, look at the Marvels.
What happened after Endgame? What happened with the leadership after Endgame? For the most part, it changed. So whenever, like I said, when a new sheriff comes in town, he does things their way.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about, like I said, if we can all agree that Zaslav's not going to be there for very long, then we're basically agreeing that this might not happen. And somebody asked me tonight, it was like, well, what if it comes in and it makes so much money? It doesn't matter. When you're the alpha and you're already sitting on billions, you don't think that way. You automatically assume that you can do better than the person you're purchasing.
Yeah,
and that guy that sat down at the yacht with you, that's been with you through this whole purchase, he's going to be the guy who knows you the best. You're going to want him in that spot. It doesn't matter how good the guy who's currently there is. People want their guy in. So if everybody that I know of is in agreement that Zaslav ain't going to be there long enough to really make that kind of impact, then you're basically agreeing that there's no guarantee we're getting any of this stuff outside of maybe the first 2 or 3 movies. And that's what the whole Feige thing was. Chapek came in and reshaped the company. They didn't like it. They replaced him with the old guy. But that's what happens with leadership. When leadership changes. So if you are of the reality that Zaslav ain't going to be around, he greenlit everything that James Gunn is in DC. He greenlit. All right. He was that guy. He was that sheriff and Gunn was his deputy or one of his deputies. So the new sheriff, like I said, I always say is like, I will be at arm's length in a lot of these things. I'm going to use my magic wand. I've trademarked it. People, please don't try to copy my ideas. I'm going to be doing a lot of this because I can't make that investment anymore. I'm going to withdraw. I pretty much withdrawn from DC for the most part. We're reporting it because obviously I'm on YouTube and I sell DC comics and stuff like that. But as far as like the actual engagement, there's just two words I'm not going to use in regards to DCU right now, and that's hyped and excited because I'm neither. I'm cautiously optimistic because I graduated from DCU with honors, and I'm going to get that cap.
We need to have the moment where they let us take the tassel and like put it on the other side to say you graduated now.
Exactly.
Aaron actually had a quick question for you, William. This kind of relates to JLI. Can you confirm that there is a Just League Europe?
Yeah.
There is.
It was insane. It wasn't very good, but it was fun to read. Because the artwork, Bart Sears, his run, he made that run famous. He did some promiscuous drawing. Just let's say that it was like looking at a Playboy, he kind of like just drew naked women and then like colored in clothes over them, and it was a kind of a controversial aside. If you look up Bart Sears, look up Hero Alliance, you'll see what I mean. There's some of the women were in always in cold rooms. I'll leave it there. But yeah, that Justice League Europe with Scarlet Fox and all those goofy characters. Metamorpho was part of that team, and like I said, it was a silly comic book. But I sold a couple of copies of it, but it got canceled. Every time we drift in those areas, they always come back home to the main guys, which is fine. But like I said, those characters being in the movie it's not going to be a deal killer. I mean, I'm going to go see this movie. But I'm going to go see it, and because we're probably going to promote it. They're probably going to, spend. They need to spend a lot of money to promote this movie. You can't, and like I said, whatever the money it is, if it's a $200 million budget, if that's what his vision requires, then give him the $200 million. Don't do this stupid shit where we only got $90 million. No, pick and save.
They cannot possibly be doing this for only $90 million.
Yeah, it's got to be. And I'm not a proponent of just spending money for the sake of spending it. But if he comes to you and says, this is my story, this is what I need, you need to be prepared to give it to him because you cannot shortchange the vision or you're done. Don't even start. You get what you pay for and the perception of your product. If it looks like you're cutting corners of your product, that's the first time. And people can see that because they're going to be able to see it immediately because all these other comic book movies that are out there. And if yours is how they do that Ghidra thing with the two goofy heads and one good one, that's what your movie's going to be amongst movies. So don't do that. Give them the money.
You know what? If they did a Justice League Europe, then we'd probably get to see Power Girl.
And it's porn. You're basically making porn. There you
Power
go.
Girl.
Yeah, I guess you get to see with her. Who are you going to cast for that one? Oh my God, that's going to be so. Dude, I remember the letter writing campaign to get them to desize her boobs. I'm like, they would write this. I'm serious. They would write this shit, and this is when you could send letters into the comic, which you could read in the next morning. I have a female comic book collector, and I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you because we're going to get in trouble. But obviously, and that's part of her story, though. So he was like, she's got these huge, cans, but people were like offended. And even now, when you see her in the comics they draw now, Adam Hughes and everything, they don't care. They triple them. They don't care. So you're going to have her. You're going to have Scarlet Fox. You're going to have all the women in there that if you do them like Bart Sears did.
Captain Adam will be in there.
Captain Adam was literally like one of his favorite ones because he was silver. So yeah, it was like.
It sounds like he's probably a big Lara Croft fan.
Yeah, he was a
Power Girl. That's like one of the greatest assets that she has. I remember as a kid, we're always like, dude, look at Power Girl's boobs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was just.
I remember women's
so
groups.
stupid, but yeah,
women's groups were like, you should take that comic off the shelf. You're like, no. I mean, and it is what it is. But yeah, Justice League Europe needs to be on HBO Max if we're going to do it.
By the way, because I just
oh yeah, that would be perfect. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Even then, you'd have to see because Power Girl's boobs are even bigger than hers.
Oh yeah.
We were just kind of a little bit on the MCU also, and I just saw us across the timeline talking about Tim Blake Nelson. He uses the leader from the Incredible Hulk from 2008, we're finally going to see in a Captain America: Brave New World. Apparently his appearance is getting more comic accurate, but I was like, that movie is like. That movie is like it's almost like that movie is getting Justice League now. I mean, it's getting totally revamped
Yeah,
from the
I'm
ground
a
up.
little worried about Captain
Well-
America. I mean, they completely removed all of the Serpent Society out of the movie. There was one actress, I forgot who her name was, who was a part of that. They completely the last time that they what is it, took out copyrights for the names. She wasn't even on there anymore. Like they're redoing the third act. It's just crazy. They're
Yeah,
doing a
I
lot
don't-
of crazy shit with that movie.
The thing about that is that movie started under Chapek. And the changes you're seeing, I feel a lot more confident about when Feige had more control and there's changes made than I did when DC when there's changes made. He's making changes because he is the quality control. So I have more faith in his changes than I do. If he's taking something out, just like with Daredevil, I'm okay with what he's doing with Daredevil. The same guy is making those decisions. So he has credibility when it comes to making these decisions. Studio interference and stuff like that, we only notice it when they fuck it up. Like Kevin Feige's all over his movie. He's probably one of the most intrusive producers in Hollywood, but we don't care because for the most part it worked out. See, with DC, when you didn't have guys that know what they were doing and they fucked things up, you notice it. You're like, you guys are a bunch of screw ups. But most of the time, Kevin Feige's in every one of these movies micromanaging, and he has a reputation of that. But because it turns out right and he knows what he's doing, we don't care. So whatever's going on with Thunderbolts, I think is probably what needed to go on with Thunderbolts, simple because that was Chapek in his volume machine, because that's the mission. In all fairness to Chapek, they set him on that mission and set him on that mandate to make as much shit for our streaming service, and then they didn't like how it turned out, and plus he wasn't the nicest guy, but they gave him a crap load of money to go away, so, and then here comes Feige not Feige, but Iger out of retirement again to basically reset, So all the changes that are happening in the MCU, I'm just going to assume, give him a benefit of the doubt because he's earned it, that they're changes that are probably going to be along the Daredevil line more so than the Justice League line. You know what I mean? Just a thought.
Yeah.
And
anyway,
to answer Janeway's question, Seth Rollins, as far as I know, as far as I've heard, he may have been removed from the movie altogether.
By the way, the Rock's promo.
Seth freaking Rollins.
The Rock's promo on social media today. Listen, I've been watching wrestling since 1982. It's a long time. It's all my adult life and most of my childhood. I've heard the promos from everybody. I've heard the promos from The Rock, heard the promos from Ric Flair, going to church on Saturday with Ric Flair, basically. The promo that The Rock cut on his Twitter page was some of the best shit I've ever heard. And it was unfiltered. He was cussing. I never heard him cuss like this. It was all kayfabe. It was all part of the story. He cut a 21-minute promo, and it was the best shit I've ever seen from him. Beautiful.
The Rock, one thing that I've always come to know with The Rock is that anytime he has a match, it's like, and this is when I used to watch WWE wrestling. All of his matches usually start off with him kicking ass in the beginning and then getting his ass kicked the entire time and then having a resurgence at the end and then he wins the match. You know what I mean? Like
that's wrestling though. That's what I love about it. You know what I mean? It's like, Hulk Hogan, remember Hulk Hogan? Hulk Hogan was getting the crap beat out of him, and then he starts hulking up, and then he does it. You punch at him, he starts hitting you, he throws you up against the ropes, puts the big boot out, and then does a leg drop, and everybody, it's like, that was the coolest thing about it. But The Rock's promo today was like, now I understand. And this is peak storytelling when it comes to wrestling. Listen, and he feels the same way about Cody's story. He literally said, fuck your story. And he said that in the promo, which was like, woo, they're letting him, and he couldn't do that on TV tonight. But so this social media thing is good for that. But that, for those of you wrestling fans out there, that go on The Rock's page. He's got 450 million followers, which is like, holy cow. But you go on The Rock's page and listen to that promo. It'll make your day better. Whatever day you're having right now, however fucked up it may or may be, go watch The Rock's promo. It's gonna make your day better. I just wanted to throw that in there. All right, guys. Do we got anything? Anybody? Hey, like and subscribe. And I mean us. Fuck Nikatina. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Who is that guy anyway?
Hey, like and subscribe since we're approaching half of his viewers anyway. As you're over here, come on, hook us up. Where are we at? Let's see. Where are we at? Oops, I'm not even watching live. That's
apparently there's talk about Ben Affleck, Daredevil, and Deadpool 3.
oh my god, why?
I don't know why.
Yeah,
Well, we're at 13
because
months.
Jennifer Garner Electra is supposed to be in it, so there's that.
MILF. She didn't want to take up the role before because I don't have the body that I had then. I have a mom body. I have to be realistic. And I'm looking at Jennifer Garner. She's still hot. I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in her 50s looking like that. They're all eating from that root. Paul Rudd, J-Lo, Shakira, they're
Ben
all
Affleck
hanging around.
himself, it's like because he
you know,
he went through, of course, his rough period there, but it's like he's come back. Like he
he went through alcoholism, which takes years off your life, and he's still younger looking than us. They're all chewing on the world tree. They're just chewing on it, and they're just going to stay young forever. You know, with Selma Hayek's literally eating the branches off that tree. So yeah,
Selma Hayek was in Eternals, and I was like,
trees like that.
In the Eternals, though, I was like, what is Selma Hayek doing in this movie? I didn't get that casting. I was just like, what in the world? Here, I just shared this too. I don't know if you want to share this or not.
He did tweet. It was a long thing to watch. That was funny. Do we got
this? Is so on the left you got behind the scenes of Venom 3, and then to the right you have the image from Spider-Man No Way Home. So look, they're dressed exactly the same.
Also, so coming like right off of his little trip into the MCU.
Yeah, so like this is gonna take place right after No Way Home, which is kind of cool.
Listen, Sony. I did this we did this. Was this last week or the week before? Where we told when I laid out when I take over Sony what needs to happen, and it's all salvageable and there's all money to be made. Listen, in this whole thing with the split between what they want to do with Spider-Man 4, Sony, let Feige fucking play with that. You take your Spider-Man and do something with it and stop trying to confuse people with MCU. That Spider-Man that they have is cultivated for that environment. You literally have everything at your disposal. You have a guy that everyone wants to see. One of two guys that people want to see in one more movie.
One of three guys want to see one more movie.
Yeah. I would go with Garfield because he seems to be eating from that tree as well. At 41, he looks like he's a teenager still.
He doesn't look like he's aged a day since Amazing One.
Not at all. You put all this together, you make this work. You tell a Sony story. This is the biggest problem: is they trying to be in the proximity of Marvel, and are the Disney stuff. And I'm like, you have everything you need, and you have the storytellers. Like I said, Lord and Miller need to take over and be the showrunners of all this stuff, and get Raimi on there, and get the people. Like I said, they're about to win another Academy Award for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That's going to win. I don't see anything on that list that's going to beat that. That means two Academy Awards. You know how hard it is to win multiple? There's only like 6 or 7 people, period. Actor, director, I mean, maybe 10. There's just a handful of people that have ever won multiple Academy Awards. You employ these people. You're working for you right now, and they're working with that crazy woman that you allow to hang around, and Amy Pascal. They like each other. So you already have Academy Award-winning storytellers. You have a Spider-Man. You have a Venom. You have a Madam Web movie, which is goofy as it was.
Oh my god!
But here's the thing:
that was brutal.
And you use her powers. You use her powers to retcon all the dumb shit because that's what she can do. You got it right there. I laid it out there for you.
The Amazonian Spider-Man. I was just like, whoa! What are we doing here? I was like, did they just come from a play at the fucking community center? I was like, oh, that whole part. I was like, I would have cut that whole thing out of the movie. I was just like, oh my god, why did they keep this?
Because the movie was cut up. That the ADR, that's not what you were supposed to hear. And here's the thing, though.
ADR was so rough.
Yeah, it was bad because they were not. It was a different.
Hey, how's it going? I was like, oh my god.
Well, Dakota Johnson, like she gave that quote where she said, "It's like I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I will someday." It's like, oh, she.
Here's the thing, though.
Checked out of this.
They're never giving back the rights to Disney. It's never going to happen, and they're not going to stop making Spider-Man movies. So those are not solutions that are, like I said, you want to have an adult conversation, you'll eliminate those two things, so they're never going to happen. So when you start having an adult conversation, what can we do? You have everything there. You have all the ingredients. You just need the guy to make the pizza for you. And you're literally paying them right now. All the people that are there, except for the one person who, by the way, is an Academy nominated person himself, pay him. Stop being so cheap too. Stop making these $80 million movies, man. Granted, they're not. And the thing about it, there's no consequences to this because they don't lose money. Madam Web, as we speak, is $600,000 away from making its budget back, and they didn't spend shit on that movie to promote it. So now when you line up the fact that the movie was already sold to streaming, 2 different levels of streaming and VOD, they're going to make a profit. They're going to make a profit when it's all said and done off of Madam Web, even with the percentages that the theaters get, because of the percentages are so low, and you already had sold maybe 6, 7, 8 million, in each of these deals because they don't have their own streaming services. So that crap is going to end up on Disney Plus. That crap, unfortunately, is going to end up on PVOD, which, by the way, is wretched as it is. Shitty movies do really good on PVOD. They make a lot of money because you don't have to get out. You don't have to buy all the snacks and everything else. And if you don't like it, you just lost $20 or $30 and you go watch something else. So they're going to make their money back. So you can't. It's hard to tell them, hey, you guys are fucking up. They're going to be like, well, we haven't lost money. We haven't lost money yet. It just needs to be more about making a little shitty $80 million. So make a really good. Andrew Garfield is right there. And
they shot a scene with him in Madam Web. They shot a scene with Andrew Garfield. And then they said, okay, no, pull that back. Let's do Tom Holland. And then they said, you know what? Fuck them both.
Can't do that either.
You should have went back to Andrew Garfield. And then, well, it doesn't line up. So wait, it's a time travel movie. It's a time. You have him in the Spider-Man. Sorry, spoiler alert. Peter Parker's in the fucking movie.
I know, right? It was supposed to be. It was literally supposed to be Terminator meets Spider-Man. And I thought that would have been a really cool concept.
I think that's what they did. And their movie got hacked up because they were so scared to be compared to Marvel. But I'm like, listen, you have a Spider-Man that people love and now re-love again after seeing them in No Way Home. You should have been on that shit already instead of making all these other movies, but you can still do it, Sony. I'm giving this to you for free. Just like I gave WB the DVD, the Blu-ray, the physical media, the other than a comic book to tell the end of the Zack Snyder Justice League story. I'm giving you this for free. I'm not even going to trademark it. It's 40 cents to make a fucking comic book. Why haven't we got this? Give me 12. Give me a dollar. I'm sorry, $1 to make a bookshelf format. Give me 12 of those, man. You can keep the idea, dude. You can. I will sign it over to you. Sony, all these ideas, they're yours, man. I'm a fucking idiot, and you guys have degrees. What's going on? How do you not do this? And in both of these companies, how do you not do this? You guys, we need money. We need to cut back, and we need to, the price of inflation and all this shit. But you leave like piles of money. It's like Yayo piled up in Scarface. You just leaving a pile of money. I just want to delve my head into it. But hey, they're so in tune to what they're doing, so they're too high up in the penthouses to hear me.
Well,
yeah,
on that
pretty
note,
much.
Andre mentions he's got to go. It's probably
Is
going
that him in
to
private chat? Yeah, I'm tired too, and I'm on the same West Coast as he is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, tomorrow, 2 p.m. I still got to schedule the Scary Movie 2. I know you're going to be happy about that, Brad.
Oh, that's so tragic. We can't fit that in. Oh man,
we're going to put that in tomorrow, right after Justice League. But I put the link into the chat for you guys who want to go join us. Or we're at 8,000 right now, so anything we make tomorrow is going to be a bonus. But it's all for things like this. And like I said, read that scroll down there. Remember, it's all make-believe. Don't take this shit seriously.
Yeah, I don't take this shit seriously. There's no point.
Yeah. And if you have, like I said, if you have a disagreement in a chat room, it's not war. I mean, you leave the chat room and we should see each other the next time, and that's it. We have some fun with it. But not only that, stop taking everything else so seriously, too. Not everything is DEFCON 4. Not everything's the end of the world. And if you think that you're reaching the end of the world, 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 24/7. Call, text, chat. Talk with some people that'll bring you back down to, where things aren't so bad because they made it through it. Everything that you're going through right now, as soon as you call those numbers, you're most likely going to be talking to somebody who thought that, all this was, stuff that we should, be taken like it's forever. It's not. It's a moment. All right, Nikatina, where can I find you?
You can find me on YouTube, my channel Nikatina. If you look up Nikatina Show, it comes up faster. And you can find me on Instagram, on X, and on.
All right, that's too much. Brett, no, I'm just
Shit.
kidding. Brett,
And I put my
Kung
link.
Fu-
I put my link in the chat as well, so subscribe to my channel.
Yeah.
I'm 50 away from 1900, so we're trying to get to 2000
You know what? There you go,
before the
Jim.
summer. Hopefully, I don't know.
Where am I at? I'm not even at 400 yet. So he's basically shaming us on our own channel,
I'm
Brad. I
not
don't think
shaming you at
that's-
all. Subscribe to
Yeah.
Sci-Fi Center.
Oh yeah. Pigeon, no, let me get that.
Everyone who's watching right now should be subscribed. You guys are here
Yeah.
every time I'm here. Subscribe. It's free to
Yeah.
do so. They don't charge you.
Yeah. Brad, you're what? Kung Fu Panda? What's?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter and Vero. You can find me still here and there on Facebook. Check out all my writing on all my different outlets I've contributed to, and of course, you can find me here on the Sci-Fi Center. And
Kung Fu Panda. You're on Kung Fu too? Don't leave that one out.
what was
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
Kung Fu Kingdom?
Yeah.
I have departed from Screen Rant, but I have all kinds of great writing you check out there, and of course, I'm also contributing to Fortress of Solitude now, so you check out all my great stuff there, and of course. We've got watch parties this weekend. You can find me here for them. I find it, additionally annoying that you guys. This is now the second weekend in the row that we have an awesome DC movie that we started off with, and then we finish the night with the bad one, with the scary movie. We can't reverse that for some reason.
I'm guilty, Jeebus. I would kill him all over again. I like Damien though. I just don't want to see him in a movie. All right. Yeah, they're not selling it. They're not selling anything. All right, that's where we're gonna wrap it up because I'm tired. My eyeballs are starting to get dry and red. So that's it, guys. We will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. and then again a little bit later for Scary Movie 2. Brad's gonna be hosting that one on his own. So until then, have a good night. Try to have some fun.